February 11, 2025. This is the S&P 500 E-futures mini on a 2000 tick chart using NinjaTrader 8. This is what the chart looked like today. It was this very, very choppy, noisy sell-off. And then on the open, it looked like it was 2 legs up, consolidation, another leg down, and then 3 legs up, and then probably 2 smaller legs down. It was really noisy today. This is how I drew up the charts. I tried to find this bigger, or I tried to find a bigger channel going up, and this one really didn't come into play and act, well, wasn't really helpful at all. Despite all this price, looks like there's big swing legs, there weren't very many setups because a lot of the second entries or setups, they just didn't look or just didn't have a lot going for them. So that I call them a lower probability. There were probably 2 setups that I marked. One of them I took a trade on and unfortunately I lost. And then the second one happened a few minutes later, which is I think a better setup. But other than that, there wasn't really any clean setups today. It was also low volume and it was a really slow grind. So it just kind of made for a really, kind of like yesterday, a very slow trade. And unfortunately, I got caught today. So I got caught and I lost. Gonna go into the trades right now. Also, the economic data that came out was at around 7 o'clock Pacific Standard, which is right here where this big candle is. That's where Fed Chair Powell actually just came out and started, I guess, testifying before the Senate. And he spoke for, I think, about 2 hours. So all through this, the market's just kind of oscillating, moving up and down. He's just answering questions. And then I think later, President Trump was supposed to come out and say something, but I think it was later in the afternoon, so it didn't really matter. But overall, it was a very slow, meandering day. And total price action was actually really slow. There wasn't that much movement at all. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of, well, go through the trades because there's actually very few. In the pre-market, which I don't trade, you have this nice weird, nice swing legs down. But unfortunately, I'm not here to trade this. And excuse me, if I was, I don't know that I necessarily want to trade these because these candles took quite a long time. Because you can see the timestamp is 20:04 and then 21:07. So this took 1 whole hour for this to play out. And this candle is only 4 points, and this candle is only 3.5 points. So I'm not trading anything here. So it hits down to the bottom and it starts reversing. It's a new low. It's a first entry short, and that's all you get. Opens. On the open, I look and I think I find this channel, but I was looking for some kind of key entry point potentially right here. You have a first entry long pullback. You have a second entry long right here, which isn't a very good signal bar. And if you decide to look for a visual first entry, second entry, this is also not a good signal bar. Then it hits this consolidation area. No real trades in here. Plus this range itself is only about three points or about 12 ticks. So it's kind of risky to try to take a trade, especially when the candles themselves are taking up almost the whole span of the range. So I just kind of sat on hands right there. It finally pushes out of this range. It's a first entry short. Technically, you have an engulfing second entry short here. So it's a first entry short, pullback, second entry short, pushes up and pushes down. I wasn't too keen on this because this is the signal bar for the second entry short. You have a good confirmed trigger bar for the second entry short, but it's running into the potential of this top of this range and into the EMA. Now, if you look at the price, it's 75.25, and it's actually 74 even. So this is only 5 ticks. So you'd have to hope that you can get the entire move before a potential bounce off the top of the range or a potential bounce off the EMA. So it's nothing I particularly like there. It starts moving down. I did kind of a first entry, so I did the count here, so you get first entry long pullback, second entry long failure, and then it doesn't really quite create a good setup because this is a break of the orange down channel, test the low, and it starts reversing. But when you see this candle in real time, you're not necessarily thinking of going long just yet. You need a higher low confirmation. You kind of get your higher low here, and the follow through isn't very convincing. So your higher low is technically here. I'm not really thinking of taking a trade at this point. And then it flashes up. This one isn't very convincing that there's a good follow through. Plus it tested the break of this green up channel at this point. So I'm not thinking of going long for sure. Kind of chops around. It starts moving up this channel here. There's no real clean second entries. There's a double top here and then matches the same high. So it's technically from here is a first entry long. I'm also within the range, but this range is even smaller. This is only like a 2 point, little bit less than 2 point range. So it's not that, doesn't feel like there's any safe trade here. I did find this yellow up channel, but there was no clean entry that I felt I could take. This is a failed breakout of this pre-market high and pre-market low. It starts reversing back down. Technically, you have a first entry long right here, and then here you have a second entry long, but this is a signal bar that didn't really have me prepared because it doesn't look very clean. It starts consolidating sideways, and I'm just not a big fan of this price, these candles being so small and just side by side, so this feels very congested. And then this actually sets up for my one and only trade, and unfortunately it's a losing trade. So I have a new high here. I have a first entry long, but I also saw this as a new low. I saw a first entry short, pull back, push above this guy, and came right back down. So I entered early. Well, I didn't enter early. I anticipated this move early. So I thought this is a second entry short. Technically, it isn't yet because it hasn't broken below this green candle. So it's a first entry short, second entry short potential, but not clearly a second entry short yet. This yellow up channel has moved. Let me go ahead and let's see. I'll go ahead and reveal what happened. So it's a break of this yellow up channel. Made one attempt down, consolidated, then made the second attempt down. So I thought it was one down, one attempt up, two attempt up, second push down. At the time, I also had this measured move. I was thinking, okay, there's a measured move here. There's a potential measured move here. So I was looking for this continuation down. So in real time, this is what I'm seeing. I'm seeing one leg down, kind of a two attempts up, second leg down. I was looking for another move all the way down to here. I like the close of this signal bar. I also like that it was a strong engulfing bar. So I actually, excuse me, I actually entered at the lows. It pushes down, comes right back up, and then stops me out in the next candle. Now, in hindsight, I looked at this and I kept kind of scrutinizing the setup and scrutinizing the trade. At the time, I was thinking, okay, there's a break of this orange down channel. It already has tested the low. So that should have probably been red flag number one. The other thing was this is a trading range. It has a breakout here. Is this a corresponding breakout? Is that good enough? Is it moving back in? I thought actually that this is the breakout here. There's a small one. I was thinking it was going to be a bigger breakout on this side before it reverses back up. And unfortunately, I was wrong. So even if because this is a 13 tick bar, even if I entered higher up, I think I would have gotten stopped out anyways because I entered right when this closed. So opened, I got in right at the open, moved down, and it immediately comes back up and stops me out. Even if I entered higher up to reduce the risk, let's say I entered right here, this candle on its way up would have picked me up and I still would have lost. So I feel like this trade was just destined to lose. And unfortunately, I got trapped. I waited a little bit and there was a new low here. Actually here at the bottom. First entry short, pull back. This creates a potential second entry short. Here now there's a clear second entry short. I thought this was a possible trade, but you'd have to take it kind of what I did here on the, let's go ahead and make this bigger. I'd have to take it right after this close and I'd enter probably at the open here and then would have gotten the scalp. Now this one is a little bit better of a setup because previously it made a triple test, triple top, 1, 2, 3, failed attempts, a fourth one, and then a close. So if I didn't take this loss here, this probably would have been a possible trade because it's a good signal bar. I have to enter right at the lows here, would have gotten filled, and probably would have gotten the 1 point scalp. There's enough room to get down to the bottom of the range. While this one was already at the bottom of the range, but I saw it as EMA is holding, and it did push through the low of the range. However, the EMA isn't super reliable. I should have kept that in mind because, as you can see, it's cutting right through the center of all this price action. So fortunately, that's my one loss of the day. And I decided how things were shaking out. It was just hard, at least for me, to read and trust. And it proved that way for the rest of the day. So it comes down, okay, the first entry long pullback, second entry long failure. This failure isn't a good trade to enter because you're already hitting a low here, possible bounce point, but then it continues downwards. Same thing as a new low here, first entry short, second entry short. This is a bad signal bar to go short on. You're also in a developing range, so you'll be selling into the lows, so nothing really enticing here. Prices push up, hits this consolidation, a new high here, first entry long pullback, second entry long. This is a bad signal bar, inside bar, and EMA isn't really acting as any help. Plus, you need a break above this green bar, which happens on which doesn't happen on this one. So when this one prints and this one closes, for me, I'd abandon the trade because I'd be looking for a break above here. It never happens. If I had an order ready, I would have just abandoned it, canceled it. Prices then continue moving down. This transparent channel doesn't really help, so just ignore the gray line. Pushes down. It looks like it's moving on this yellow down channel. It looks like it made two measured legs. Hits this consolidation area. Nothing particularly enticing. There's a new low here. It's a first entry short. Technically a second entry short here. It's a bad signal bar. It's above the EMA. No real trade there. Starts moving up. Reverses. It pushes up on this yellow up channel. Break. Tested the high. No setup. New high here is a first entry long. Technically a second entry long, but you don't want to go long on this terrible looking signal bar below the EMA. The only thing going for it is a break of the green. Tested low and it could be moving back up, but other than that, there's nothing really going for it. Prices then kind of oscillate. It hits a new low here. You get a first entry long here, then a second entry long way up here. Excuse me. New low here, first entry short, followed by a second entry short. Inside bar, I'm not that keen on it. This orange up channel, I actually had at one time thinking maybe it was something like this with this big overshoot. So it gives me confidence that it's probably moving back down. And as soon as it hits this consolidation area, I did draw it and drag it up to here. But this second entry short is really far from this move. It felt like it was just one leg, but you could technically say it's a first entry short, second entry short, but it's inside bar. Good signal bar though, but just doesn't feel very safe. Again, it creates a new high. It's a first entry long, pullback, second entry long, but that's all you really have. There's nothing really attractive in this setup because it's just too congested, too side by side. It looks like it was in a trading range, so it could have been down here as well. And at one time I did have it down here, but there was nothing really setting up. You have doji after doji. Prices are really slow. It just doesn't really feel like a good opportunity today. Finally makes a new low here. It's a first entry short, pullback, second entry short. I don't really like this setup. I'm looking for lower high confirmation because it does look like it's two legs up, break of this orange, break of this yellow down channel. So you're thinking it might be moving back in. But I have been fooled in the past, and I was just being extra cautious today. Especially this is kind of toward the end of the day, so I'm not looking to try to win back my loss here. It was more like I took this loss. I thought it was okay setup at the time. Took the loss. I didn't really see anything setting up. I wasn't really going to try for a Hail Mary to try to recover that loss. So whether you thought there's a second entry short or not, it's a bad signal bar. Look for the lower high, which never shows up. Then it creates a new low. It's a first entry short, second entry short, bad signal bar to go short on. Doji kind of moves into the close because this is the last 10 minutes. And unlike other trading days, the last 10 minutes actually didn't create that many candles. Granted, there are more than 10 candles here, but it wasn't a wild like spiky end to the close that usually happens. So no real profit taking, no real sell off, no nothing. It was just kind of ended on a whimper. Overall price action, it was dry in my opinion. It was dry, slow, and it wasn't the hardest, but it also wasn't the easiest. I think the hardest part was being patient and not jumping in like I did. But in all honesty, I thought this trade, other than the fact, I thought this trade was good, except in hindsight, I needed a break below this guy to confirm. And it happened on this guy, and unfortunately it reverses back up. So what would have saved me was just being cognizant of this orange down channel break and test the low. Potential trading range, and I could be moving back up. So this failed breakout here might have already, been good enough here. So honestly, I'm not sure if I think I just have to be more careful, but I think I might have taken that trade again. But the only thing I need to be more careful of, I needed a break below this guy, which never happened, and it did happen on this guy, and it ended up getting trapped. So hopefully that was helpful.